Hello guys, this is Fantasy Empire back with a video. Today we are doing the top 20 catchers for fantasy baseball in 2019. Now the reason we're doing 20 catchers is if you're in a maybe deep league, but really if you're in a standard league, probably you should only worry about the top 10 because most people in standard leagues, at least in a 10-team league, are not holding more than one catcher. Catcher strategy is very interesting because some catchers are actually pretty good towards the top tiers, and some you just rather not even have on your team. So we have multiple tiers of catchers, right? We got 5 tiers. We have the bottom tier, which you never want to draft unless you're in like a 20-team league or a multi-catcher league. You got the bad tier, which consists of 4 guys that maybe you can take a flyer on in the very end of the draft. We have the middle tier, which is okay, which you're not going to be very, mad if you get, but not extremely happy either. Then we have the good tier, which are most of the guys in the middle, who you wouldn't be chasing to get, but they would be a solid catcher. And then we have the top tier, who are guys you actually want to go after. So we're going to start off as the bottom here with the number 20th catcher. Remember, these are my rankings, and these are very early rankings, right? We haven't seen any spring training yet. We haven't seen any injuries yet, obviously, but because I'm recording this on January 25th, none of that has happened. So we're going to start off here with number 20, Austin Barnes. Now this is he plays catcher, but he can also do second baseman. He is a righty. He's on the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he's not very good. Last year he only had 4 home runs last year, only 14 RBIs, and he batted 205. Really, this is how bad catchers are, where the 20th guy is batting 205 with only 4 home runs. He's really not good at anything. I guess he strikes out a lot, 67 strikeouts last year. That is actually a lot. He was the 24th best catcher last year. I just see him going to 20th. I see him taking maybe that next step. He is behind Grandal anyway. Which kind of tells you, how good the catcher position is. So not very good there. And this is the bottom tier, right? The bottom tier consists of rankings 20 through 15. So the next guy, ranked number 15, is going to be Austin Hedges, the next Austin. This is your catcher of the Padres. He's been there for a while now, 4 years. Really, he's not terrible. He put in a solid 2018 season. He had 14 home runs, 14 doubles off of 70 hits. He batted 231, which isn't the worst thing in the world. He also got walked 21 times, which is interesting for a catcher, really, when you look at it like that way. His slugging was 429, so once again, not the greatest, not the worst. He really has some decent upside, as now he's getting into the prime of his career. He's going to be 26 this year. But he only played 91 games last year. In his biggest year, which was 2017, he played 120 games, had 18 home runs, and batted 214. So you're not going to get a whole lot out of Hedges. If you're in a 2-catcher league, though, Hedges is a nice pickup. But he's definitely going to be a guy that's on the waiver wire for a standard league. Next up, in 18th place for your catcher, once again, still in that bad tier here, is going to be Robinson Chirinos. This is the catcher for the Texas Rangers here. In his 8th year now, he's older. He's on the older part of the spectrum. He's going to be 35, but that doesn't exactly matter unless you're playing Dynasty. Last year, though, he played 113 games, so he played over half, but he got 18 home runs, and he batted 222. So if you are in a league that maybe works with home runs a little bit better, this is a guy that you're going to want to get, because ranked 18th in catchers, 18 home runs isn't terrible. If he plays more than 118 games this year, I think he's going to hit that 20 home run mark. You're kind of just going to have to punt average. But if you're in a points league or a roto league, he's not the worst guy on the list, and he's a decent player to have on your team, really. Yeah, he is on the Astros, though, this year, so moves over. We got to see how he turns out to be, really. So he was okay with the Rangers, but now with the whole Gaddis situation, Chirinos could really be getting some playing time. So I'm going to keep an eye out for him. He could move up on my board, though. Next up, the next catcher here, ranked at number Ranked at number 17 is going to be Francisco Cervelli. Francisco Cervelli, Pirates guy, he was actually really good recently. His best year though was in 2015, but last year he did fine. I mean, 104 games, that's not the worst in the world. He ended up getting 12 home runs, that's not crazy, but he batted 259. His career batting average is 273. He was better in New York though, but literally Pittsburgh, he's averaging a 270 batting average, and he's averaging about, he's got 25 home runs in Pittsburgh. Not exactly a home run guy except for last year. So I think if there's not really any good catchers left, maybe you take Cervelli because of his average, because 260, I think that's where he's going to hit around this year. That's not bad for a catcher at all. And with this kind of catcher being Cervelli, you kind of just get him so you don't hurt yourself, to be honest. So that's Cervelli. It's still part of the terrible tier. Your next guy was a guy that you want to take in Dynasty last year. He goes by the name of Willians Astudillo. He was a rookie last year for the Twins, a big old catcher. He played 29 games last year, and he ended up getting 3 home runs. And he batted 355. So this guy, the only reason he's far down the list is because we haven't seen a whole lot. That was only 29 games where he batted 355, so you never really know about that. But he is a guy in Dynasty, which I have kept on to, and maybe not this year, but you will see him on your waiver wire, and if he starts to heat up, he would be a guy that I'd pick up because of his home run potential. So Williams, definitely a good player here. And the final guy to round out the trash tier is going to be Yan Gomes. Yan Gomes was a top tier catcher just a few years ago, if anybody remembers that. I know I do. But now he kind of isn't. He's not that good of a player anymore. But, I hate to say that, but he's really just not that great of a player, to be honest. He's in his 7th year now. He's on the Nationals now. He's kind of just gone everywhere, really, recently. I mean, he hasn't done much with Cleveland, but he definitely is a decent kind of catcher. He's got a 266 batting average last year. What can he do with Washington, though? We'll have to see what happens with Bryce Harper. If Bryce Harper's not there, maybe his RBIs are limited because Yan Gomes may be a guy that's going to bat in the middle of the lineup. But if Harper's not there on base, then you never really know. So I'm not going to go to stretch to get Yan Gomes. He's 30 anyway. He could really just hit a brick wall this year and not do it. We're down to the 14th guy, and now we are in the bad tier. Right, these are guys that, like I said, you don't really want to go after only unless, these are actually decent players if you were in a deep league. So your first guy is going to be Tucker Barnhart of the Cincinnati Reds. He had kind of a breakout season last year, 138 games, 10 home runs, and he batted 248. It's really his breakout year for just playing a lot of time, because every year he's kind of progressed. He's progressed every year, which is the reason I kind of like him here. He's not going to be crazy at all, but he has, like I said, he has progressed throughout his career, and maybe this year it is the big year for him. I'm not buying it, though. That's why he's far down my list, but he's definitely a flyer type of pickup. Next up is a guy that is he actually has a chance of getting into the top 10, Jorge Alfaro of the Philadelphia Phillies. The reason I say this is because the Phillies are an up-and-coming team. They did good last year with Rhys Hoskins and company, and this year I think it's the big year for Alfaro to get some home runs and some RBIs. It is only his 4th year, but we saw last year he really had his breakout year. He had 108 games, got 10 home runs, and batted 262. This year, I think we're going to see him reach that 130 game mark, which obviously means more home runs, more RBIs. I'm seeing him as a guy that can hit 50 runs this year, a guy that can hit 60 RBIs, and possibly up to 20 home runs this year. Not a 2020 guy, obviously, no stolen bases. He actually had 3 last year, so maybe you can hit that 5 mark. His batting average is probably going to go into the 270s. This is a guy that is going to climb up my rankings depending on how well he does in spring training. So we're just going to keep out for him. This said, he's going to be a good player. So Jorge Alfaro, good one there. Next on the list is Mike Zunino. Now, I am a Tampa guy, And this is our new catcher. Right, I like the Rockies the most, but I'm in Tampa, so Zunino, the new catcher in town. In Seattle, had 113 games last year. He kind of regressed from the year before, but he's a home run type of guy, right? On the Rays, they aren't a team that hit a whole lot of home runs. The ballpark is more of a pitching ballpark, but I still think he's going to hit that 20 mark again. He hit it the year before, but like I said, he kind of regressed this year. His batting average was absolutely terrible last year. I think he's a guy that's going to hit around 220 and 20 home runs. So really, the only reason you're going to get this guy is if you're in a league that pays off with home runs and not batting average. Otherwise, you probably want to stay away from him. And finally, rounding out the bad tier, or at least the second to worst tier, is going to be Francisco Mejia. I don't exactly know how to pronounce his name, but he is the Indians catcher. He kind of went in and out of the minors and stuff, but this year it's kind of going to be a good year, I'm hoping. He really doesn't have a whole lot to offer for the team. He doesn't have much that was beforehand, but now that he's on the Padres, maybe he can offer a little bit more. I think he's gonna be a guy that's always in the lineup, which is why he's so far off the list. And he is young still, so he's only been in the league he's been in and out for 2 years. So the thing is, he's gonna be a guy that is either gonna be in the top 10 or the bottom 20. So you can't really predict that right now. I just have him at this point because I would still take him over Zunino just because of the upside. Now we get into the top 10. Now these are guys that if you're in a standard 10-team league, one catcher, these are the guys that you're going to have on your team from now on. You don't want to have any of those other guys unless maybe you're taking a flyer for some reason. But this is the OK tier. It consists of 3 people. So your first guy, or number 10, is going to be Danny Jansen, the catcher for the Blue Jays. Jansen is in he had his first year last year. Only 23 years of age, and he did okay, to be honest. He had 3 home runs off of a 247 batting average in only 31 games. This is a guy that is going to play over 100 games this year, and he is someone that I can see getting into the teens in home runs, like maybe 18. He's a guy that can have a decent average, maybe 250. He's on the Blue Jays, so who really knows with RBIs and runs, but he's a good upside catcher. He's young. In Dynasty, you're definitely taking this catcher. In Dynasty, he's closer to the top 5 than he is in 10th. But for the Standard League from now on, he is just where he is. But Danny Jansen, a great pickup to have, really, and that's why he's ranked number 10. The number 9 catcher for the White Sox, Wellington Castillo. Wellington had a better year in 2017 than he did 2018, but 20 home runs in 2017, only 6 in 2018. His batting average, he's a good batting average catcher, really. He's going to be a guy that's going to hit around maybe 280 this year, maybe 15 home runs. Once again, he's a catcher that you're going to take in the late rounds if you just don't want to have a catcher. He'll have a decent average to not hurt you, and he'll get his runs, his RBIs, and all that anyway. And finally, to finish the OK section, we have Yadier Molina. He's been in the league forever, it seems like. Still a Cardinal for some reason. Maybe he's been a Cardinal his entire year, so that's probably why. But he's a guy who over the last, except his first year, has played over 120 games in every year, except 2007. But he is a guy that you can probably expect to get 20 home runs and have a good batting average. So really, the reason I'm taking Molina in most years, I haven't really taken Molina at all, really. But this year I may take him just because he is an actual catcher who's going to hit home runs and have a good average, which is hard to find. Next up, we're down to 7, and we are in the good catchers. So these are the catchers that you are going to actively try to get in your draft, basically. We're not top tier yet, but like I said, these are the catchers you're going for. First one, number 7, Buster Posey. Posey has been the number 1 catcher, and he's gone down, and he's been back up again. This year, it's kind of like an every other year thing, it seems like, because in 2015, he did really good. 2016, he did okay. 2017, he did fine. But last year, he didn't do much at all. Only 5 home runs, 284 average, only played 105 games. He's getting older, but this year, like I said, it's that every other year thing. So I'm kind of going to go for the fact that Posey is going to be a good player this year. That's why, he's farther up on my list and he's ahead of the guys like Castillo. But to me, him and Molina are kind of the same player, but I'm taking Posey in most situations. Like I said, these are early rankings, so nothing is ever set in stone just yet, but that's who I have there. Next up, in 6th place, a guy that I've had in the last 4 years, it seems like. He was available last year. He was the #1 catcher for a while until Realmuto came by. But Yasmani Grandal, the Milwaukee Brewer now. So last year he had an amazing year. Like I said, I had him on fantasy last year. I had him the year before too, and the year before that, 27, 22, and 24 home runs. He doesn't bat amazing, but if he can get over 20 home runs and bat over 241, there's no reason that you're not going to try to draft this guy. But really, there's no reason he should be available either, because in my opinion, he's the 6th best catcher here. He's going to be 30 this year. Doesn't really matter unless you're in Dynasty, in which the fact, is there's players you want to give it for him, but this is in Dynasty rankings. But Grandal, a great player, so yeah, that's my opinion on him. Next up in 5th place, kind of like Posey, a guy that's been #1 before and then back down again, and that is going to be Salvador Perez. Perez, more of a home run hitter, kind of, whatever. We'll have to see how he plays this year. I don't have a whole lot of insight on him because he's kind of the same every year. Just hoping that he is a better guy this year. He's more of an all-around player. He's going to get you RBI. He's going to get you your home runs. He can be good with batting average. Maybe not the reason you would draft Perez, but if you're in a punting league for average, Perez is definitely a good guy to get. So, yeah, that's how I feel about Perez. Now, still, number 4 here. Now, we're going Contreras here. Contreras was almost like a flyer last year, or the year before at least. But he was good. I'll tell you that much. Otherwise, still in the Cubs. He's got a lot to play for, really. He's a guy that you definitely want to go for. Maybe I have him a little bit low. Maybe he should be in 3rd instead of 4th. But Contreras, 21 home runs last year and a 275 average. He's the perfect catcher. He gets you home runs, and he doesn't hurt your average. And like I said, runs and RBIs come natural to him. So really, Contreras is a great pickup here. He's a guy that you should definitely be bidding for in auction, and a guy that you should, if he's available, pick him up, because you're not going to find a whole lot of catchers after him that are better. Because the thing about catchers are, if there's a catcher there who provides more than another guy, like if you're taking your 3rd outfielder over your catcher, I wouldn't exactly do that unless the 3rd outfielder is like someone really good. So yeah, now number 3 to finish out the good catchers, it's gonna be Wilson Ramos, or AJ Ramos, sorry, a guy with the Rays. Now number 3 to finish out the good catchers, it's gonna be Wilson Ramos. He's on the Mets now. Went from the Nationals to the Rays to the Mets. He's gone everywhere, it seems like, but he is a very, 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 very solid catcher. 70 RBIs, 306 average, 15 home runs. Like, this is why I have him over Contreras. Unless you're in a dynasty league, Contreras is definitely ahead of him. But when do you get a catcher that has over a 300 average that has a lot of home runs, except the next 2 guys I'm going to talk about? So that's why I like Ramos so much here. And now we have the God tier. These are guys that you may even stretch to get. I don't recommend stretching to get catchers, but these are the kind of guys where if he's the best available, you're definitely taking him. You're not going to say, I'm not getting a catcher, I'll wait till later, because you'll regret not having these 2 players. Now, the 2 players that are left are Realmuto and Sanchez. And so my number 2 guy, Gary Sanchez, was really, really good last year. Had his breakout season in 2017. Played really well in 2018. 33 home runs in 2017, only 18 in 2018, but he gets you a good batting average. He was kind of weird last year, but This year is what it's all about, and not last year. So, hoping he can mimic that 2017 season where he had a 278 batting average and had 33 home runs. This year, it may be a stretch, but I think he's going to hit 30 home runs again. Might not be a stretch to some people, but to me, it may be a stretch. 30 home runs and a 280 batting average is what I kind of see out of Gary Sanchez. This Yankees team has got even better, so there's no reason he's not going to line up the RBIs. There's no reason. Maybe he's going to lose some bats because of the team got better, but he's still going to be able to really play really, really good. So, and now at number 1, the guy who shouldn't even be a catcher, he kind of counts as a first baseman too. His name for the Miami Marlins, JT Realmuto. I picked him last year very, very early. I'm not going to say where I picked him because, yeah, I don't want to, hurt myself that much. But I picked him early. I'll tell you that much. And he is a really, really good catcher. Last year, let's talk about it, 125 games. Let's just say the last 2 years combined because he had 141 the year before that. Able to get 17 and 21 home runs, able to get 8 and 3 stolen bases, and able to have 278 and 277 batting average. The reason Realmuto is number 1 is because he's a guy that is going to hit 280 this year. He hit 278 the year before that, 277 the year before that, but he hit 303 in 2016. So he's a guy that may hit that 300 mark again, but to me, I see him at a 280. He's a guy that's going to get you stolen bases, and he's not like going to get him a whole lot, but 2016, he got 12, and he got 8, and then 3, but he's progressing on the stolen base column, but you really don't know with this guy. He can do anything, so that's why I like him getting stolen bases here. And the RBIs are really good for a catcher, 65 and 74 last year. I think he can hit that 70 mark again. The home runs, he can probably hit the 20 mark again. And like I said, he's got a decent average too. So that's what I'm saying here. Realmuto ahead of Gary Sanchez. So just to recap, I'll go through 1 through 20. JT Realmuto, Gary Sanchez, Wilson Ramos, Wilson Contreras, Salvador Perez, Yasmani Grandal, Buster Posey, Yadier Molina, Wellington Castillo, Danny Jansen, Francisco Meja, Mike Zunino, Jorge Alfaro, Tucker Barnhart, Yan Gomes, Williams Astudillo, Francisco Cervelli, Robinson Chirinos, Austin Hedges, and Austin Barnes. These are my catcher rankings. I want to hear what you think in the comments below. Maybe, I'm sure you'll have some criticism, so just let me know what you think. What are maybe your rankings? Maybe some people that you've changed around. Maybe some people I didn't put in my top 20 that's in your top 20. And maybe some predictions as well. I'd like to see all that. Make sure you share this. Make sure that you like this video if you did get this far. And if you did get this far for some reason, make sure you do subscribe because I'll have some more rankings coming out later as well as different spring training things and my total rankings, draft strategies, mock drafts, all of that as the channel grows bigger. So thanks for watching this again, and I'll see you guys in the next ranking episode. We're going to hit first baseman, so I'll see you then.